Hey guys, welcome to a complete guide on what you should look at while you're starting your first Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. You might be overwhelmed, and I'm here to make sure that this does not happen. The first thing I really recommend that you do is make sure that your options are good. So when just start a blind playthrough, just start the first few minutes and move around the settings. You can enable FPS counter through Steam if you're playing through Steam. There are other ways doing it on PS5, Xbox, and Mac. And all you need to do is just to adjust it and make sure that you are running a stable speed. Now, what I do recommend is when you go on the video is cap your frame rate and cap it to 60 if you do not have a really good computer. Cap it to 90 or higher if you have a better computer. I found 90 to be the sweet spot. I could, if I wanted, go all the way to 120, and it works relatively well on my end with little to no issue. Now, once you've done that, you're going to start your campaign. So you're going to click on New Game. You have three options for your difficulty. It's very new to the concept, or who doesn't have a lot of time to invest in learning all of the intricacies of the game and doesn't want to be punished for making mistakes in game. There's Explorer. Explorer is the difficulty level that is easy. It's going to be mostly focused on the story and narration. Your characters are going to feel incredibly good and incredibly powerful. There still will be possibilities for you to fail, but not as much. Balanced is a place where you will fail, and you will fail regularly, and that's okay. It's the whole point. You're learning, you're adjusting, you must make decisions, and there will be impacts on your decisions. But your failure doesn't mean or doesn't necessarily end in you losing the game. It simply is that you are playing the game and you are making choices, and those choices will impact one way or another. And you might not possibly always get what you're aiming for, as this is, at the end of the day, D&D. Tactician is for those who are veterans, who understand the intricacies of the game, who understands D&D 5e rules very well, and understand that Baldur's Gate 3 has adjusted those rules and are ready to spend time reading, speccing their characters again and again, min-maxing a little bit here and there, and being very careful with each and every action they take. This is going to be a tough campaign. Definitely still doable if you are new to the game, but it is going to be a much harder time, and there will be situations where you go, oh crap, I completely got wiped out. So in Tactician is where I truly experienced total part. Finally, we get to character creation. In Baldur's Gate 3, your journey begins with a choice, and the choice will shape your adventure, define your character. Will you step in the shoes of well-established heroes, or be burdened by the dark urge that is the unique storyline of the Dark Urge? Or do as a lot of people have done, be the blank slate that is known as Tav by so many. How are you going to choose your destiny? If you select an origin character, you're stepping into the shoes of a pre-existing persona, each with their own past, their own demons to face. Their stories are already very much intertwined with the setting, the world of Baldur's Gate 3, and their paths are very much set. Choosing an origin character, you will dive straight into the heart of their epic tale, their story, and the choices you make are based on their history. You can still have all of these characters and interact with them and learn their story, live their story, as most of them, with the exception of the Dark Urge, will become your companions if you so wish them to be. So you do have that option. However, playing as the Dark Urge will give you a very unique perspective from a character which otherwise does not appear in the game. Then there is the other option, creating Tav, or rather the custom character, and Larian wants you to do this. Everyone who plays Dungeons and Dragons highly recommends it. You are a blank slate, the character of your entire creation. This is where you choose. You define what your past is, your personality. You create your entire persona from scratch, and you're able to roleplay this to great effect within the game. The choices that you make, the choices that you can make based on the choices that you made in the past are incredible. The amount of dialogue, the amount of options, the amount of chances and roles and intricacies is beautiful, to say the least. Dear adventurers, this choice needs to be a well-informed one, hence why if you decide to not embrace an origin character, which is absolutely fantastic if you do either way, let me help you build your character and let me guide you through the various aspects of building your character. First thing that you start to choose is who your character is from existing. You have a variety of races to start to choose from. The elves are the children of the woods. They have very keen senses and a deep connection to nature. They are known for their agility, their wisdom. They are masters of magic and of the bow, being both graceful and very powerful in the world of Faerun. They age very slowly and live long and fruitful lives. Then you have the humans, versatile, adaptable, the heart of civilization in Baldur's Gate and the majority of the Sword Coast. They have boundless ambition and insatiable curiosity, carving their destinies in the turbulent world, for the better or for worse. One of the most flexible characters that you can start off as. The Githyanki are born of a race that was subdued by the Mind Flayers. They are the product of countless battles and of hatred towards their previous enslavers. Hence, they are incredibly powerful and strong, very strict, very regimental. They fly in the skies and space on their red dragons, seeking revenge against those who wronged them. The Drow are dark elves. They live in the deepest parts of the Underdark. Their society extremely intricate and full of schemes. Matriarchal society, quite interesting, really. Something I would like to see explored more in the game than it is. And they are masters of magic, just as much of their high elf cousins. However, what really is powerful about them is their subterfuge abilities are legendary. Tieflings are those humanoids that were touched by infernal bloodlines. They bear both gifts and curses of their ancestry. They face prejudice due to their demonic look, even though they themselves are not demonic by any means. They do get some powerful ancestral touches, such as resistance to flames, fire, and the ability to cast certain spells. And this does help them quite a bit. But as I said, they are shunned by society as a whole, due mostly to their horns. Dwarves are stout, hearty masters of craftsmanship and endurance. They love tradition and they tend to stick to it. Just as stubborn as they are, nothing will break their tradition. Their strong sense of honor and resilience make them steadfast allies, and in times of trouble, it's good to have a dwarf by your side. Half-elves are born of two worlds. Quite often half-elves are half-human, half-elf, but it is not unknown that there are other mixtures, such as a dwarf elf or an orc elf hybrid. Half-elves in this game are human and elf, and they tend to have a bit of the best of both worlds. They gain some of the abilities and charms and longevities of the elves and the adaptability of the humans. Halflings, they make up for their small size with their courage, and they are known to have an audacious spirit. Quite often, they make excellent bards. Gnomes are inventors, they're tinkerers, they're fueled by a boundless curiosity. Their inventive genius, cleverness often leads to solutions in times of crisis, or creates the same crises themselves. Dragonborn are thought to be descended from dragons, but in reality, no one really knows where they came from. What is known about them is once a city appeared out of nowhere in the far east in the world of Faerun, and the Dragonborn were made. Dragonborn bear a lot of resemblance to ancestral dragons, and they could have possibly been a humanoid slave product of dragon magic that appeared from another realm that came to the world of Faerun, and they spread. They're generally quite good creatures, quite devout and believe in their clan. But that said, their skin color, their scales often gives you an idea what sort of ancestral dragon they had and how to approach them. Very regal, very strong, formidable, powerful, and resilient. Half-orcs are born of strength and determination, relentless in their pursuit of glory. They face adversity every day, as oftentimes they are shunned by society, but their undying resolve and fierce loyalty makes them amazing companions to have in any battle on any tavern, as they do like their drink. Once you've chosen your race, now you choose your class. And this doesn't need to be a final choice, a finite choice in of itself. Multi-classing exists, you can have multiple classes in one character, but you need to start off somewhere. Especially if you're new to the game, I would recommend just pick one and stick to it, and you'll have an amazing time later on, especially towards the end of the game. Feel free to experiment, but if you're new and you're at the start, let me run through all of the classes. Barbarians are primal warriors. They tap into their inner fury to become unparalleled combatants. Their unbridled rage, once unleashed, deals devastating damage, and they can shrug off blows that normally would kill any lesser warriors. A bard is a master of inspiration and magic. Music, charisma to uplift their allies, bewitch their enemies, and weave spells across the battlefield. Versatile, entertaining, and be careful of their words, because they do cut. Clerics are divine agents, chosen by gods to serve their will. They wield holy magic and protect their allies, smite their foes, and in darkest of times, they become beacons of hope, or beacons of darkness if they serve a dark master. You do get clerics for evil gods, so that option is always available. Druids are nature's guardians. They are attuned to the earth's power, quite often worshipping Sylvanus. They have the ability to shapeshift and commune with animals, command elemental forces, and this makes them incredibly fun to play as. They're protectors of the wild, and often druids are rushing to defend the balance of the world. Restoring that balance is the most important thing for them. Fighters are masters of combat. They are unmatched with weapon and armor, and they excel in battle strategy. They adapt to most challenges they face using their wits, their strength, and their agility. Whatever is on the front lines or in the heart of the conflict, they are dependable. Monks instead harness their inner energy and become martial artists. They are tuned to their fists, and their fists hurt. Masters of unarmed combat, agility, and evasion. Using meditation, they gain supernatural abilities, and their entire body is their weapon. Paladins are champions of righteousness, or rather, champions to a cause. They are bound by oaths, justice, honor, or even vengeance. And if they do break these oaths, they are known as oath breakers, and this gives them their unique set of skills. Wielding holy magic, they are meant to protect the innocent, be it for whoever master they serve, confront evil with an unwavering determination. But if they do break their oath, they become masters of their own destiny. Sadly though, most oath breakers are pure evil. Rangers are wilderness experts, mastering both archery and trekking. They often form really strong friendships with natural worlds and animals, such become their companions, and they are skilled hunters, protectors of the wilds. They're strong combat, and they're strong in exploration. Rogues are the expert of stealth, deception, and sleight of hand. If your pocket feels light, possibly one passed by. They're thieves, they're assassins, whatever you need them to be, they are going to be there. Be it subterfuge, lockpicking, or ambush, their keen eye, quick wit, and oftentimes sharp tongue will help you navigate Faerun's dangers. Sorcerers are those born with magic in their blood. People in Faerun are so goddamn horny that they keep reproducing with dragons, jinns, elementals, and magical beings that results in so many people being sorcerers. This is essentially how they come to be. They can cast spells based on instincts, on their bloodlines, and they can tap in this innate power to create astonishing and unpredictable effects. Their magic is as unique as their heritage and quite often just as unpredictable. Warlocks instead gain their magic through dark pacts and ancient bonds. They wield eldritch energy and can summon underworldly patrons to fight for them using darkness as their strength. They are terrifying on the battlefield, even if they can be quite friendly off it. Finally, wizards, the scholars of magic, delving into their tomes and their scrolls. They are masters of the arcane arts, able to cast spells with meticulous precision. Their spell books, and they can shape reality itself. If you're new to the game, what I would recommend for you is to try either the Barbarian, the Cleric, the Paladin, or the Wizard. The Barbarian, if you want a pure, unadulterated, raw melee massacre. Cleric and Paladin, if you want to try the best of both worlds, having magic but also hitting like a truck. And Wizard, if you want to decimate the battlefield with your powerful spells. Choose Evocation Wizards if you're starting off, as spell sculpting is going to be very important. Being able to not hit your allies when you don't necessarily know what a fireball does is really important. Now we get to the more complicated and less straightforward. The rules of Dungeons and Dragons can be quite complex to those who aren't used to it, but have no fear, I'm here to guide you through it, and once you get the basics and start grasping them, it will start making sense, I promise you that. You have ability points, and you need to split these ability points. What are ability points is what most people will say. Ability points are what you put in your ability scores, and ability scores are split as the following. You have Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. Those letters next to them are the summary. You often see SDR for Strength, and DEX for Dexterity, Con for Constitution, Int for Intelligence, Wiz for Wisdom, and CHA for Charisma. But what do these do? Strength is what measures your character's physical power and muscle. It affects your ability to carry heavy loads, deal melee damage, and perform feats of raw physical strength. Dexterity reflects your character's agility, reflexes, and finesse, and influences your ability to dodge attacks, make range attacks accurately, and perform stealthy actions. Constitution then represents your character's endurance and resilience. It affects your hit points, your ability to resist poisons, diseases, and other forms of damage or harm. Intelligence measures your character's intellect, memory, and problem-solving abilities. It governs your proficiency with certain skills, influences your spellcasting if you are a spellcaster. This mostly impacts only wizards. Wisdom then reflects your character's perception, your intuition, your awareness. It affects your ability to make insightful decisions, resist mental attacks, and cast spells if you are a cleric or a druid. For charisma, you have your character's charm, your persuasiveness, your force of a personality. Also, you get discounts with those sweet barmaids. It influences how you interact socially, and you can influence others to do your bidding. This is also the spellcasting modifier for Warlocks, Sorcerers, Paladins, and Bards. Now, how do these impact your game? How do these interact with your game? Quite simple. These interact with the game due to a number of skills. Your skills are what you use to interact with the world. You roll a d20 dice, a 20-sided dice, and according to what you roll, your chances of succeeding occur. Now, the modifiers on the skills come from your ability scores. So if you have a +1 to strength, your athletics will get a +1. Let's say you rolled a 15 on athletics and then you do a +1 to it, and hence your score is 16. This is how it works. Proficiency along with your skill, with your ability score, allows you to get an additional number on top of that. For example, being proficient in Arcana allows you to have an additional number of points from your skill. So without being proficient in Arcana, you get a +1, but if you're proficient in Arcana, you get a +3 with this specific character. How do you split the points up? The points are split in very unique ways according to your character. What's really important to note is there is going to be a small star next to your primary ability. Your primary ability is the most important ability for your class. Warlocks are based on charisma for their spellcasting modifier. So we put all of our points and maximize charisma up to 17, as this will make sure our spells are stronger and our abilities are stronger. Now, you will always have something that you are not good at. You cannot be good at everything, and that's absolutely okay. For example, in this case, strength is our dump stat. What you can do once you start understanding how the game works is you could start reducing your abilities from one side and putting them in somewhere else. For example, I really like to have high dexterity or high constitution, as I feel that there's really strong, especially with a warlock where I use finesse weapons, and it allows me to be quite agile, have high initiative, because dexterity affects your initiative and gives you a +2 if you have 14 or higher. 14 up to 16, 16 gives you more. And this will allow you to just make your character's base strength. Doesn't mean that there is the best way, because if you optimize yourself towards one particular thing, you're going to be weak in others. For example, if you have very weak intelligence, you're going to really struggle with your Arcana checks throughout the game, your wisdom checks throughout the game. If you really don't know what's happening or understand what's happening, nothing is wrong from using the recommended. I believe Larian did a really good job in giving a very base recommendation for the game, and it just spreading out your skills. It's absolutely fine. It's good to know as well that as you're going through the game at certain levels, if you stay with one class specifically, it's at 4, at 8, you stay with a specific class, you'll be able to get 3 feats where you increase your ability score or choose a specific feat. That is for another time. Now, as you notice, most characters have cantrips and they have spells. They both look like stuff that you can cast, and they both are magical in nature to a degree or other. But what is the difference? The difference comes down to a number of things. Let's start with the basic. Spells are based on spell levels. In D&D, spell levels come from 1st to 9th level. Higher level spells generally are more potent, greater range, increased damage. You can cast lower level spells at higher levels, but not higher level spells at lower levels. You can upcast a magic missile to the 9th level and make it a massive barrage of magic missiles, but you cannot cast Disintegrating Ray at 1st level, because that is not a spell that can be cast at 1st level. Cantrips, on the other hand, are 0 level spells. They have a fixed level of power. They're the simplest and least powerful form of magic, but they can be cast an unlimited number of times without expanding spell slots. Does this mean they're weak? Not at all. Can they be empowered? Absolutely. And this what makes cantrips really useful. Spells are more your tactical use. They require more for tactical use. Spell slots, casting spells, you're going to consume your spell slot. You have a very limited number of spell slots, and there is where the tactics come in. Characters having this limited number of spell slots per day is based on their class and their level. Once a spell slot is used, it needs to be restored through a long rest or perhaps a potion or other means. They do exist. Class resources in terms of wizards, warlocks can have short rests. There is a variety of this, but all of them have their downsides, as spells are a very limited resource, very powerful, very useful, but very limited. Cantrips, on the other hand, do not require these spell slots, hence they can be cast at will freely without depleting your character's magical power. Versatility is an important factor as well. Spells can be pretty much anything. You can have a fireball blasting through an entire house, destroying everything within range. You can revive people from the dead or resurrect dead enemies to serve as your zombies. They can provide utility and much more, having most of them very situational or specific requirements that need to be met. Cantrips are much more simple and straightforward in their effects. They are often used as basic combat attacks or minor utility tasks, such as summoning a mage hand or a small illusion. Think of them as a sword or as a trinket that you have that you can use, which is additional to what you are wearing. Scaling of spells scales much faster and higher based on their level. For example, Fireball spell cast at higher level will deal a significant more amount of damage than at the level 3, which is cast at level 5, you're dealing a lot more damage. It adds 2 more damage dice. Whereas cantrips only scale with character levels. As the character levels up, at certain points, level 5, level 11, they will become stronger and you're able to cast them at a more powerful stage. But that said, in other ways, they don't really scale that well. The limits of spells are that you have so many that you can cast per day, but that means they come with incredible power. Whereas cantrips do not require any preparation of any sort. You always have them, they're always there, and you can always use them. The downside is they do not fill the same role of spells. In summary, the primary differences are power level, resource, versatility, scaling, and availability. Spells give you all of those effects in very intricate details, in very complicated ways, whereas then they consume the limited spell slots you have per day. Cantrips, on the other hand, are very weak spells that can only do a specific thing, but they can do that specific thing very, very well, especially if you're a warlock and you're casting Eldritch Blast left, right, and center. Finally, your character background and the resulting inspiration you get from it. Character backgrounds are critical elements in any D&D game, and it is so in Baldur's Gate as well. They help you provide depth to your character and give a little bit of background as to why you exist in the world you do. It gives you an idea of what your motivations are, and it gives you a base personality which you can build on as you go through the game, allowing you for a much richer experience for yourself. Now, in 5th edition, character backgrounds come with a core component of being character creation, and this is a little bit dumbed down for Baldur's Gate, which is understandable. It's a very specific set scenario, and quite often a DM will limit things like this. So see Baldur's Gate, see Larian as being a good DM and making sure that you fit the world they're building, and they have built an amazing one at that. Backgrounds gives you traits, an ideal, bonds, flaws, and these personality traits give you distinctive behavior, define how you interact with others, gives you different quirks, habits, or attitudes, and allows you to just have this rich interaction with the world, which varies from playthrough to playthrough, and adding this to the complexity already, whereas you have your race, your class, your gods, your subclass, your all of this all builds together. The ideals are the core values, beliefs, or aspirations that you hold dear. This normally comes as a mixture between your background and your class, and oftentimes it can be paradoxical, or even it builds on top of each other, and this gives you your humanity, so to speak. The bond and the flaw are those that cement this humanity. The bond is you're bound to something, you have a duty, you have someone that you care about, you have something that you care about. It could be simple as you really care about eating good food and drinking good wine, or it's something that you want to protect, a motivation to your character. Now, you choose what this is, and you have the opportunity to move and build on that in Baldur's Gate. It might sound a very small thing, but if you do pick something and you give your character a mindset, it can create such a unique gaming experience, such a unique experience. It's difficult to explain. I do recommend just think about this a little bit. Finally, your character's flaw, your weakness, something that it's your personality. You cannot be, no one's perfect. You will make mistakes, and these mistakes will compound on that. And this shows with the inability of having the option to do certain things in the game, whereas others would. So make sure that when you're picking your background, you do give it a read through and not just pick it for the specific bonuses it gives you. Now, there is a very important thing as well that will impact all of this. Inspiration. Normally in a 5e campaign, the Dungeon Master will inspire your character based on your actions that is related to your personality traits, your ideals, your bonds, and how you build your character. Larian does an amazing job of this, and it encourages players to get inspired. You can get inspired simply as helping a poor kid who's lost, or just talking to a cat on a roof and saying hello to an old friend, to your characters, or simply as exploring and finding really cool things as you're going through the very rich and vibrant world. This inspiration can then be used to great effect as it will allow you to reroll a failed save. Failed saving throw is really powerful thing. You really needed to open that door with your last pick. You didn't manage to get the right roll. You don't have a pick anymore. But if you have inspiration, you get another chance. You're trying to convince the guards that it wasn't you who accidentally picked up 1,000 gold coins that were lying in the pocket of the merchant. It just happened. You don't know how or why. It's your gold now because it was in your pocket. It would be stealing if they take it back. You don't get that 25 difficulty roll. So inspiration will give you another shot at getting a nat 20, which is frankly your only way out as the guard is bearing down your back. So you are ready. You are ready to start your adventure. And your adventure is so rich. You've built your character. You've gotten yourself a story. And you're ready to delve and figure out why the hell are you on a Mind Flayer's ship. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. The next part of this series will be talking about the basic actions, the interactions with the world, the little tips and tricks to look at. They're a bit different than the 5e version, so keep that in mind. But it is good to note that it's a very rich world. If you're new to the game, if you've been struggling with the game, I'll try to get that done. If you're still here after this very long video, thank you so very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know about your characters. Tell me their stories. I love hearing stories of people's characters, what they build, what they come up with. And subscribe to the channel as well while you're at it. It helps the channel. It helps me. It puts a little bit of a motivation to my day, even though I really love doing this and the motivation comes from itself. But if I'm having a shit day at work and I see a message from someone or a new subscriber, it's always nice. And 6,100 in, I still, each single subscriber matters so much. It's incredible. Have a nice day. Goodbye.